must have looked a sight. They didn't skip a beat. "I say, old boy," said the one in the middle, obviously the ringleader, "won't you sit and have a drink with us?" I didn't want a drink, but I needed one. I sat down with him. The black bartender had it on the bar before my backside hit the stool. My head may have been in Zimbabwe, but my butt was in Rhodesia. "Where are you from?" said the ringleader. "Canada," I said. That was the only question they ever asked me. Like the rest, didn't matter. Wherever I was from, whatever my story, I was now with them. And that was all that counted. "This is Harold," offered Morris, one of the other mustaches. "He's the owner and proprietor of the Guy River Hotel." He pointed at the ringleader. "And a bloody fine host he is as well for an old farmer," he added. "The Guy River Hotel, is that where this is?" I inquired. "Where else, dear boy? And where else would you rather be?" asked Harold. He had me. It turns out that the other two mustaches were tobacco farmer friends of Harold. It was their guns in the gun rack in the lobby. Just as I finished my drink, another appeared. "Any plans for dinner, Wink?" Harold asked, as if. "Not really," I said. "Well, I'd be delighted if you'd be my guest." The tobacco farmers seemed to think this was a jolly good idea. I told them I'd be delighted too. In my wildest imagination, I couldn't make up the next part. We all shuffled off next door, which, dark though it was, I recognized as the dining room. As we sat down at one of the tables, I was drawn to something moving on the ceiling above us. It seemed to be a large carpet, swinging languidly back and forth, providing a bit of welcome ventilation. It was attached through a system of cords and pulleys to a giant black man standing in one corner. He was wearing a fez and pulling a long rope up and down in 2/4 time. "How do you like our Punkawalla, Wink?" Harold asked. I liked him fine. Birds flew in and out of the room. Another big black man loomed above me. I figured he was the head waiter. He had a beauty queen sash and his colonial uniform that said, "Head waiter." I was on a roll. "This is Millions. He's our head waiter," said Harold. Got it. Millions didn't speak much English, but he was able to figure out what we wanted anyway. What we wanted, apparently, was roast guinea fowl and tumblers of scotch. Long after the sumptuous meal and stimulating conversation, the farmers took their leave, and Harold asked the next obvious question. "Made any arrangements for tonight, Wink?" he asked diplomatically. I told him I hadn't. "Well, then you should be my guest." This was a special human being, I thought. "Morgan," he shouted, "give Wink the key to room number 9. Morgan appeared with the key. I thanked Harold again and bid him good night. I had no idea what was behind the door to room number 9. I put the key in the lock and turned the handle. The door opened easily, and I switched on the light. The spacious room smelled of straw. Under the large window on the far wall, there were 2 beds facing me. Zimbabwean counterpanes were tucked snugly around the mattresses. On the headboard of the right-hand bed was the largest spider I had ever seen. Even from the door, I could see its mouth parts moving. Fangs protruded below its mustache. As I entered the room, it folded its front half up off the headboard and began waving the striped underside of its front legs around in an agitated, threatening posture. Its mouth parts moved faster, but no sound came out of either of us. I was in the lobby. I was done. "Harold!" I called repeatedly. "What is it, Wink?" His voice arrived from down the hall. "There's a giant spider in my room," I said, pretending calm. "Don't worry, Sid. Just a rain spider. Polistes johnstonii." Now I felt better. "Do they bite?" Just curious. "Oh yes, they're not particularly venomous," he said. I had to think about that one a bit. It must be an African distinction, I thought. "Just ignore him and he probably won't give you any trouble," he said, trying to reassure me, and failing miserably. I tried to be reasonable. It would simply be ingratitude to show any further weakness. Here was a kind old man offering me hospitality of the first order, and I was raising a fuss over an arachnid he was not the least bit concerned about. I needed to get a grip. I went back to room number 9, opened the door, and switched on the light. Nope, I decided I was right the first time. There he still was, folded up off the headboard, waving those striped legs around and twitching his fangs like he was playing chopsticks on the piano with his index fingers. I needed a distraction. I went into the adjacent room and started running a bath. Back in the bedroom, I went over to the dresser and pulled all the newspaper out of the bottom of all the drawers. I rolled it into a tight baton and sat in the bath, washing and drying myself off with just my left hand. Refreshed, I went back into the bedroom and pulled down the corners on my bed without taking my eyes off the headboard of the other. I was just about to crawl in when I decided that I absolutely must take action. I wouldn't sleep otherwise, knowing that Sheilog was conducting an orchestra right next door. I swung my newspaper baton way back, lined up the target, and what I didn't know was that Harold turned off the generator every night at 11 p.m. The lights gave up their life slowly, taking all hope along for the ride. I didn't panic. At least I couldn't see him anymore. I simply turned and crawled under my sheet, newspaper baton held high in my hand. I felt myself exhale. I told myself to relax. Closed one eye, closed the other, and then the largest spider I'd ever seen walked right across my face and under my covers. I found myself back in the lobby. I may have been screaming. "What is it, Wink? Are you okay?" Harold came out of the room this time too. He had a flashlight. I told Harold I was fine, but no matter his degree of reassurance, I just couldn't do the rain spider. He called for Morgan. "Morgan, give Wink the key to room number 17, he said. I wondered, but I didn't say it. "Thanks, Harold." "Not at all, Wink. Now try and get some sleep." I promised to try. I put the key in the lock to room number 17. I opened the door, but I didn't have any light. I went over to my bed and pulled back the covers. I crawled under the sheets. My eyes closed. I fell asleep. I awoke refreshed next morning and stretched awake. I rolled over to a ray of diffuse sunlight coming through the open window. It fell on the pillow of the next bed, on the puff adder curled up in the warm, dappled sunbeam on the pillow of the next bed. "How did you sleep in the end?" asked Harold at breakfast, back in the restaurant. 2 zebras were drinking out of the swimming pool, flicking their ears at the flies. "Like the dead, Harold," I said. "Almost like the dead." So there's the Guy River Hotel, or the way it was back in the 1980s. There's the swimming pool, there's the zebras, and this is the Guy River Hotel today. So you can thank Mr. Mugabe for that, and the story of what happened to it in Harold is in the book. So, sorry to end on a downer, but every place I'm going to read you about today is no longer in any way, shape, or form the same way it was when I hitchhiked through. Okay, so did you like that one? I got better. So this is good. I went to the Soviet Union from Denmark, and they thought I was a Danish student of communism. But I wasn't. Because what I had done is I had gone to a bank in Järning, and I bought